Hi traders, interest rates are going to be announced around the world. We've got the Bank of Canada in a few hours time. We've got the federal funds rate out of the US. And of course, the ECB is forecast to announce a cut. How are these announcements going to affect the global markets? And let's start off, of course, when we're talking about inflation affecting interest rates. Australia's underlying inflation rate has just dropped to 3.2%. So this has given the market some hopes. Of course, we saw a bit of a significant sell-off in the Aussie against US dollar at the time, but it has given some hope, folks, to potential rate cuts occurring as early as February in Australia. So this has created some optimism, especially in a nation like Australia, which is so heavily household indebted, and where this kind of rate cut coming into an election, looking for the whole talk of this election is about the expensive cost of living. So it could come at a great time leading into this election here in Australia. But more importantly, it's going to give some relief to the Australian households. However, that being said, that is the market's point of view. So if we have a look now at the RBA rate tracker, feel free to check this website out. It's basically a live updated forecast on what the Australian investors or the market is seeing. And you can see here, we're looking at about a 70% chance based on that figure. So the market seems to have gone all in now at seeing a rate cut starting February or possibly a month later in March. Now, the other thing we're looking for is from the RBA itself. We really want to hear the RBA talk about how this could be the case, how we could be getting closer to rate cuts here in Australia. And they have definitely said that the inflation figure is dropping a little faster than expected. So that to me is potentially a good sign coming from the RBA, whereas previously they literally turned around and said, no chance until the middle of, say, 2024, or they gave a really stern, opinion on how they were going to keep rates higher for longer. So at the moment, we might be seeing some wheels being greased here in Australia. And this, of course, you would say might be negative for the Australian dollar, but positive in effect for the recovery of the Australian economy. All right, and that's sort of what we're looking at the moment. But don't worry, it's not just about interest rates here in Australia. This week, I'm calling it interest rate week. Yes, it is the year of the snake and it is the lunar new year, but it's also the interest rate week for me. So what I'm looking at is Bank of Canada in a few hours' time. They're going to come out with a forecast cut in their interest rate. That will be followed by the Fed in the US. So they're talking about at the moment leaving their interest rates on hold. That will be followed 12 hours later by the ECB, looking at a potential cut there as well. So I feel like we're going to get a really good idea of where the monetary policy is going to sit by the end of this week. So as far as the Fed go, yes, their forecast is they're going to stay strong. They're not going to be cutting rates as yet. It's going to remain unchanged. But what I'm going to be looking for is the devil in the details. So I want to see in the minutes whether they start to talk about ideas of, we're just going to be very data dependent, or as they like to call it, data dependent, right? That's what I want to look for, because at the moment, a few hours ago, we had consumer confidence start dropping in the US. We had their durable goods go negative, minus 2.2%. Okay, so we're starting to get some negative data coming out on the US economy, which the whole of last year, especially towards the end when Trump came in and won the election, things were looking unstoppable in the US. So as we see some weak data coming out or mixed data coming out in the US, and Donald Trump putting the pressure, he's putting the thumb on, isn't he? He's saying, I want lower rates, okay? Are we going to start to see this reflected in what the Fed, what the FOMC minutes tell us? And remember, that's coming out tomorrow morning. So a big happy Lunar New Year to all of you. And of course, let's hope it's a big happy rate cut week for the rest of the world. And more importantly, for those of you Harry Potter fans out there, let's make Slytherin great again for the Year of the Snake.